Hello, algebra students. Today I am going to go over the 4-3 practice quiz in preparation for your quiz on section 4-3 that you will either have in class on Tuesday or Wednesday. So problem number 1, solve the system using the elimination method. Write the solution as an ordered pair. So first of all, you have a few different options with this problem. You can decide to either eliminate the x's or eliminate the y's. If you choose to eliminate the x's, then you could make them the same by multiplying to get 15 as your coefficient, the number that comes in front of x. So you could multiply the top equation by 3 and the bottom equation by -5, or vice versa with the negative signs. What I'm going to do is I chose to eliminate the y's. And in order to eliminate the y's, I know that I could get both of these coefficients here in front of y to both be 12. So I could multiply this top equation by 3 to make this 12. And I could multiply this whole equation by 2 to make this 12. And of course, one of those two has to be negative. All right, so I'm going to choose to multiply the top equation by -3, and I'm going to multiply the bottom equation by +2, because again, I want my coefficients to be the same but opposite signs, so that way I can add the two equations together. All right, so if I multiply the top equation by -3, I will have -15x minus 12y is equal to 42, because -3 times -14 is a +42. And then in the bottom equation, if I multiply the entire equation by 2, I will have a +6x plus 12y is equal to 12. And as I can see from here, I have the same coefficient in front of y, so I can now add those two equations together and my y's will cancel. So if I add the two equations together, -15x plus 6y is going to give me a -9x, and that's equal to 42 plus 12 is 54. From here, I need to divide by -9 on both sides of the equation, and I will get x is equal to -6. All right, so I figured out what my x term is. I now need to figure out what my y term is. And in order to get my y, I need to plug in, or should I say substitute in, to one of the original equations that my x value is -6. Since it doesn't matter which equation I use, that I can either use this top equation or the bottom equation, since it doesn't matter, I'm just going to use the bottom equation since everything there is positive. So I have 3x plus 6y is equal to 6. And I know that my x is -6. So I have 3 times -6 plus 6y is equal to 6. If I multiply 3 times -6, I have -18 plus the 6y is equal to 6. From here, I would add 18 to both sides of the equation, giving me 6y is equal to 24. And then lastly, I would divide both sides by +6, giving me an answer of y is equal to 4. So I now have an x and a y. So that means that the solution to my system of equations is the point for -6. Because it's written, sorry, hold on. Take that back. Sorry, I wasn't looking apparently carefully enough. So hopefully you guys all caught me on that one. So since I am writing it as an x and y coordinate, my x is -6 and my y is 4. Sorry about that. And that's problem 1. Okay, so problem number 2. Which of the following gives a valid reason for using the given solution method to solve the system of equations shown? So they give you two equations, equation 1 and equation 2, equation 1 being 8x plus 14y is equal to 4, and equation 2 being -6x minus 7y is equal to -10. So they're going to give us some reasons or some different methods that I can use to solve this system of equation. So if I looked at the first one, A tells us substitution. That's and we're looking for a valid reason for substitution. So what they tell us is equation 1 can be solved for y. So I can solve for y in one step by subtracting 8x. Well, if I look at equation 1, they want me to solve for y. I could subtract 8x, but I still have 14 y's here. So it's not one step. I would then have to divide both sides by 14. So it can't be the first method that they've suggested here, because we'd have to do that in 2 steps to solve for y in equation 1. All right, B tells us a substitution again, and they're saying here that equation 2 can be solved for x in one step. Again, that's the key word here, that they can solve it in one step by dividing by -6 on both sides. Well, I can divide both sides of this equation by -6, and I certainly will get x. But on that same side, I'm going to get plus 7/6y equals 10/6. I did not solve for just x in one step. I now need to eliminate the 7/6y. So I didn't do that in one step. So for that reason, B is also not correct. So let's look at C. C says we can do this by elimination. They tell us a coefficient in equation 1. So if I look at equation 1 and I look at the coefficients, which are the numbers that come in front of the variables, one of the coefficients is an integer multiple of a coefficient in equation 2. Well, let's look. Is 8 a multiple of -6? No, it's not. But is 14 a multiple of the number 7? Yes, it is. So that means that since equation 1 is an integer multiple of a coefficient in equation 2, that's going to be much easier to solve using elimination. So C is actually correct. So let's look at D just in case. So D also says elimination, but they're telling us here that a coefficient in equation 2 is an integer multiple. Well, 6 is not an integer multiple of 8, and 7 is not a multiple of 14. So that's why the answer is not D. And again, that's why the answer is C, because 14 is a multiple of 7. Let's go to problem 3. So problem 3, which of the systems of equations below is equivalent to the system shown? All right, so we have this system of equations, 9x plus 8y is equal to -3, and 5x plus 4y is equal to -6. Well, if we're looking for a system that's equivalent, that means that we're just multiplying the equations by a constant. So if I look at A as a possible answer, to get from 9x to 27x, I would have to multiply by 3. So let's multiply it by 3. And I would get 27x plus 24y is equal to -9. Well, that is what it says there. All right, but we got to look at the next part. So to get from 5x to 30x, it looks like I need to multiply that by 6. So if I multiply by 6, I would get 30x, which is my first term in A. And then I would get -24y. And then 6 times -6 would give me a -36. Well, everything's the same except for the constant term there. My constant term would make it a -36, and the equation has it as a +36. So that means that A cannot be correct. So I'm going to erase this and I'm going to cross off A. All right, so let's look at B. Well, in the equation, 9x plus 8y is equal to negative 3. If I look at B, 9x plus 8y is equal to negative 3. So that equation is the same. So it looks like they just multiplied by 1. So to get from the second equation to the second equation in B, to get from 5x to negative 10x, it looks like I would need to multiply by negative 2. So if I multiply this entire equation by negative 2, that would give me negative 10x minus 8y is equal to 12. All right, let's go look. So I have negative 10x minus 8y, but look, I have a positive 12, not the negative 12 that they give me there. So that means that B is not correct either, because I'm not multiplying by the same constant. So B is not correct. All right, so let's try C. All right, if I look at the top equation in C, I have 27x plus 24y is equal to negative 9. We've actually already done this. So to get from this equation to this equation, it looks like we need to multiply through by 3. So if I multiply this entire equation by 3, I have 27x plus 24y is equal to negative 9. If I look at the second equation, I need to go from 5x plus 4y equals negative 6 to negative 30x minus 24y is equal to 36. So I'm going to look at the first term. How do I get from 5x to negative 30x? I think I need to multiply through by a negative 6. So if I multiply through by a negative 6, that will give me a negative 30x, a minus 24y is equal to a positive 36. So let's look at that. Negative 30x, negative 24y, positive 36. It gives me everything that I needed there. So it looks like my correct answer here is C, but you know I like to double check. So let's look at D just in case here. So with D, my first equation in D is 9x plus 8y is equal to negative 3. So that's the same first equation here. So that means that that first equation was just multiplied by 1. To get from the second equation, 5x plus 4y equals negative 6, to this second equation, if I look at my first term, I go from 5x to negative 5x. Well, then that's looking like I would need to multiply that second equation by a negative 1. So if I multiply through by negative 1, I will get that negative 5x. And then I have a minus 4y is equal to positive 6. So now if I go back and look at that equation, I have a negative 5x, but look, I have a negative 8y. I'm supposed to have a negative 4y. But I do have that positive 6, but it doesn't matter because of that second term. It means that D is also incorrect. So D is also wrong, meaning that the answer to this problem is C. So let me just erase that for us, and I can cross off D as well. So the correct answer is D. C. Okay, problem number 4. So this is our word problem. In this problem, Mike and Julie are selling pies for a school fundraiser. Mike sold 9 apple pies and 4 blueberry pies for a total of $102. Julie sold 10 apple pies and 2 blueberry pies for a total of $114. Choose the system of equations that models this situation. All right, so I know how many pies were sold and I know the total cost. So that means, and if they're using X's and Y's here in my equations, I'm going to say that we're going to let X be equal to the cost of 1 apple pie. So that's going to mean that we're going to let y be equal to the cost of 1 blueberry pie. All right, so if we know that the x is the cost of an apple pie and y is the cost of a blueberry pie, my equations would be 9 apple pies. So 9 times the cost of an apple pie, this is for Mike, plus 4 times the cost of a blueberry pie is going to be $102. And then for Julie sold 10 apple pies. So that would be 10 apple pies times the cost of each one, plus two blueberry pies times the cost of each one. And that's equal to $114. So if I go in and look at my A, B, C, and D, the correct answer looks like B. So B is my correct answer for the system of equations that would be set up correctly. Just so you know, if I look back at A has 4x plus 9y and then 10x plus 2y. So they actually switched around these. So that would make that wrong. Here they switched around the cost in C. And then in D, they switched around these two. So that's what's wrong in each one. And that's why B is the correct answer. All right, so let me erase this just to give us a little bit of room here. So obviously now they're going to want us to solve. So they want us to solve for the cost of 1 apple pie, how much it costs for an apple pie. And we know that our apple pies here are X. All right, so I have my two equations. 9x plus 4y is equal to 102. And 10x plus 2y is equal to 114. Well, the easiest way to solve this system of equations by elimination is going to be to multiply the entire bottom equation by a -2 to cancel out my y's. So that's going to give me a bottom equation of, I'm going to write it down here. So -20x minus 4y is equal to -228. And then, of course, my original top equation, just want to use a different color, I have 9x plus 4y is equal to 102. All right, so if I solve this equation now by adding, which I can do because my variable for y has the same coefficient and they're opposite signs. So I can add them together now and I will have -11x is equal to, because my y's will cancel, -126. From here, I can divide both sides by -11. As you'll see, this does not come out to be a nice number. So if you were to divide -126 by -11, I believe, I did it on a piece of paper here, I believe that you will get $11, 11.45 repeating. So yeah, it doesn't turn out very nicely. So it was 11. So if we want to round up on this for the cost of each apple pie, since we know that X represents an apple pie, we can round up. So you can just say that it's about $11.46. Now, if you actually went and solved for Y in this equation, in this system of equations, you would notice that our Y was negative. That's not possible in this particular situation because blueberry pies, you can't sell blueberry pies for a negative number. So in all of reality, when I created this problem, and I apparently don't know, I must have typed in the wrong thing. But one of my numbers must have been incorrect when I typed this. So that's why it didn't work out very nicely. So I apologize for it not working out very nicely. However, you can see that you can still solve it. Luckily, we were solving for X because that was the apple pie. And I can guarantee you that the one that you're going to have on the quiz, although very similarly set up to this, will work out much nicer for you. All right, so let's move on to number 5. All right, so number 5 says, as a first step in solving the system shown, Kenny multiplies both sides of the equation 8x plus 2y equals 6 by 5. By what factor should he multiply both sides of the other equation so that he can add the equations and eliminate a variable? All right, well, let's look at the first part of this problem again. So it says Kenny multiplies both sides of the equation, 8x plus 2y equals 6. So he multiplies both sides of the top equation by 5. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to multiply the top equation by 5, and let's see what we get. So 5 times 8x will give us a 40x. 5 times 2y is plus 10y. And then 5 times 6 equal to 30. Okay, what they want to know is, use a different color. They want to know what factor should we multiply the other equation by so that he can add the equations and eliminate a variable. Well, if I look at this bottom equation, I want to multiply something that's going to help me eliminate one of the variables. I can't multiply 13 by a whole number to have it eliminated from 40. That's not going to work. 13 times something will not give me 40. However, if I multiply this negative 5 times 2, I'm going to get a negative 10. Let's do that. So I'm going to multiply this entire equation by 2, which would give me 26x minus 10y is equal to 30. Negative 30. At this point, I'm looking to see, can I add the equations and eliminate a variable? Yes, I can. I can add these equations together because it will eliminate my 10y's. So the factor that I multiplied the equation by was 2. That's your answer. That's what they were looking for in this. They weren't asking you to solve this at all. They were just asking you to figure out what number, what factor did you need to multiply the second equation by. If you, in fact, solve this, you would figure out that 76x is actually equal to 0. And then if you divide both sides by 76, you would get x equals 0. And then, of course, you could put that back into the original equation, one of the original equations, and you would figure out that y would be equal to 3. So the solution here would be 0, 3. But again, that's not what you were looking for at all. All they wanted was the factor. So when you have a problem like this on the quiz, again, you're not looking to solve it. You're just looking for the factor that you should multiply by. All right, my friends. So I hope this helps. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to your math teacher, and good luck on your quiz.